जय साईं राम। कुछ ही दिनों में दशहरा आने वाला है एंड दशहरे के दिन बाबा ने अपनी माँ समाधि ली थी। इसीलिए हम थोड़े चैप्टर स्किप करके दशहरा के रिलेटेड और बाबा के महासमाधि को रिलेटेड साई सच्चरित्र से स्टोरीज पढ़ेंगे और लेसन्स इम्बाइब करेंगे। Baba left his body on Dussehra and took Mahasamadhi on that day. So for that reason, we are going to do a few special Satcharitra readings dedicated to Baba's Mahasamadhi for Dussehra, and these are starting with chapter 42. So we will begin those now. Preliminary. The stories given in the previous chapter have shown that the light of the Guru's grace destroys fear of our mundane existence, opens up the path of salvation, and turns our misery into happiness. If we always remember the feet of our Sadguru, our troubles come to an end, death loses its sting, and the misery of this mundane existence is obliterated. Therefore, those who care for their welfare should clearly listen to these stories of Sai Samarth, which will purify their minds. Previous indication. The readers have till now heard the stories of Baba's life. Let them now attentively hear about Baba's passing away. Baba developed a mild fever on the 28th of September 1918. The fever lasted for about 3 days. But after the fever subsided, Baba did not eat anything at all and thereby grew weaker. On the 17th day, Tuesday, the 15th of October 1918, Baba left his mortal coil at about 2:30 p.m. 2 years before this, in 1916, Baba gave an indication of his passing away, but no one understood it then. It was as follows. On the day of Dussehra, Baba went into a wild rage in the evening when people were returning from his Seema Langan, the ceremony of crossing the border of the village. He took off his headdress, the kafni and langot, tore them up, and threw them in the dhuni before him. Fed by his offering, the fire in the dhuni began to burn brighter, and Baba shone even brighter. He stood there stark naked, and with his eyes burning red, shouted, "You fellows, now have a look and decide whether I am a Muslim or a Hindu." Everybody was trembling with fear, and none dared to approach Baba. After some time, Bhakuji Shinde, the leper devotee, approached him boldly and succeeded in tying a langot around his waist and said, "Baba, what is all this? Today is the Seema Langan." Baba, striking the ground with his satka, said, "This is my Seema Langan." Baba's anger did not cool down until about 11 p.m., and people doubted whether the Chavi procession would ever take place that night. After an hour, Baba resumed his normal condition and, dressing himself as usual, attended the Chavi procession, which was previously described. Through this incident, Baba gave a suggestion that Dussehra was the proper time for him to cross the border of life, but no one understood its meaning. Baba also gave another indication, which was as follows. Averting the death of Ramachandra Dada and Tatya Patil. Sometime after this, Ramachandra Dada became seriously ill and suffered a lot. He tried all kinds of remedies but was unable to find relief and was waiting for the last moment. One night, Baba suddenly appeared near his pillow. Dada held his feet and said, "I have lost all hope of life. Please tell me, when will I die?" The merciful Baba said, "Don't be anxious. Your death warrant has been withdrawn and you will soon recover. But I am afraid for Tatya Patil. He will pass away on Vijaydashmi of Shaka 1840, which is 1918 AD. Do not divulge this to anyone, for he will be terribly frightened." Ramachandra Dada recovered, but he felt anxious about Tatya's life, for he knew that Baba's word was unalterable and that Tatya would breathe his last within 2 years. He only shared this secret with Bala Shimpi, a tailor and devotee of Baba. Only these two persons, Ramachandra Dada and Bala Shimpi, were anxious about Tatya's life. Ramachandra Dada soon left his bed and was back on his feet. Time passed quickly. The month of Bhadrapad of Shaka 1840 was ending and Ashwin was in sight. True to Baba's words, Tatya fell sick and was bedridden and could not come to receive Baba's darshan. Baba was also down with fever. Tatya had full faith in Baba and Baba in the Lord, who was his protector. Tatya's illness went from bad to worse and he could not move at all. But he always remembered Baba. Baba's condition also began to grow equally bad. The day predicted, Vijaydashmi, was impending, and both Ramachandra Dada and Bala Shimpi were terribly frightened about Tatya. Their bodies trembled and perspired with fear. They thought that, as predicted by Baba, Tatya's end was near. Vijayadashmi dawned, and Tatya's pulse began to slow, and he was expected to pass away shortly. But a curious thing happened. Tatya remained. His death was averted, and Baba passed away instead. It seemed as if there was an exchange. People said that Baba gave up his life for Tatya. Why did he do so? Only Baba knows why. His ways are inscrutable. It seems, however, that through this incident, Baba gave a hint of his passing away, substituting Tatya's name for his. The next morning, 16th of October, Baba appeared to Das Kanu in his dreams at Pandharpur and said to him, "The masjid collapsed. All the oilmen and grocers of Shirdi teased me a lot, so I am leaving the place. I therefore come to inform you. Please go there quickly and cover me with bhakkal flowers." Das Kanu also found out about Baba's death from letters from Shirdi. So he came to Shirdi with his disciples and started singing bhajans and kirtans and sang the Lord's name all through the day before Baba's Samadhi. He weaved a beautiful garland of flowers studded with Lord Hari's name and he placed it on Baba's Samadhi and gave a feast in Baba's name. The last story in this chapter, chapter number 42, is Charity to Lakshmi Bai. Dussehra is regarded by all Hindus as the most auspicious time, and it is befitting that Baba should choose this time to cross the border line. He had been ailing a few days before this, but was always conscious internally. Just before his last moment, he sat up without anybody's aid and looked better. People thought that the danger had passed. He knew that he was to pass away soon, and therefore he wanted to give some money as charity to Lakshmi Bai Shinde. Lakshmi Bai was a good and well-to-do woman. She worked in the masjid day and night. Except Bhagat Malsapati, Tatya, and Lakshmi Bai, no one was allowed to step into the masjid at night. Once, while Baba was sitting in the masjid with Tatya in the evening, Lakshmi Bai came and bowed to Baba. The latter said to her, "Oh Lakshmi, I am very hungry." Off she went, saying, "Baba, wait a bit. I shall return immediately with bread." She returned with bread and placed the same before Baba. He took it and gave it to a dog. Lakshmi Bai then asked, "What is this, Baba? I ran in haste and prepared bread with my own hands for you, and you threw it to a dog without eating a morsel of it? You troubled me unnecessarily." Baba replied, "Why do you grieve for nothing? The appeasement of the dog's hunger is the same as mine. The dog has got a soul, and though all creatures may be different, the hunger of every creature is the same. Be certain that he who feeds the hungry really serves me with food. Regard this as an axiomatic truth." This was no ordinary incident, but Baba thereby propounded a great spiritual truth and showed its practical application in daily life without hurting anyone's feelings. From this time onward, Lakshmi Bai began to offer him bread and milk daily with love and devotion. Baba accepted it and ate it appreciatively. He took a part of the food and sent the remainder with Lakshmi Bai to Radha Krishna Mai, who always relished and ate Baba's remnant prasad. This story should not be considered a digression, for it shows how Baba pervaded all creatures and transcended them. He is omnipresent, birthless, deathless, and immortal. Baba remembered Lakshmi Bai's service. How could he forget her? Just before leaving his body, he put his hand in his pocket and gave her 5 rupees and then 4 rupees, in all 9 rupees. This figure of 9 is indicative of the 9 types of devotion described in chapter 21. Lakshmi Bai was a well-to-do woman, and thus she did not really need any money. But Baba might have suggested to her and brought to her notice the 9 characteristics of a good disciple mentioned in the 6th verse of chapter 10, Skandha 11 of the Bhagavad. In this, first 5 and then 4 characteristics are mentioned. Baba followed the order, first paid 5 rupees and then 4, in all 9 rupees. Many times 9 rupees had passed through Lakshmi Bai's hand, but Baba's gift of 9 she would always remember. Careful and conscious till the end, Baba also took precautions in his last moments. In order to not be embroiled and entangled in love and affection of his devotees, he ordered them to leave. Kaka Sahib Dikshit, Bapu Sahib Bhuti, and others were in the masjid anxiously waiting upon Baba, but he asked them to go to the vada and return after their meals. They could not leave Baba's presence, nor could they disobey him. So, with heavy hearts and heavy feet, they went to the vada. They knew that Baba's case was very serious, and they could not help but think about him. They sat for meals, but their minds were elsewhere, with Baba. Before they finished, news came to them that Baba's left his mortal coil. Abandoning their dishes, they ran to the masjid and found that Baba finally rested on Bayaji's lap. He had not fallen on the ground, nor did he lie on his bed, but sitting quietly on his seat and doing charity with his own hands, threw off his mortal coil. Saints embody themselves and come into this world with a definite mission, and after that is fulfilled, they pass away as quietly and easily as they came. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. The stories are fairly self explanatory, and you are welcome to hear or read them again as the lessons have been described within the stories themselves. In the following chapters, more stories are described about Baba's transition and how he continues to be with us. And even though the last story talks about Baba trying to shed his love and affection, Baba continues to love his devotees and disciples and takes care of them from his cosmic body. We will close this chapter now. Jai Sai Ram.